Beloved, chosen one. Listen closely. This moment is not an accident. Heaven has paused everything around you just to deliver this word. You are not here because you stumbled across this message. No. This is divine interception. This is not coincidence. This is divine intervention. The world tried to bury you. They tried to erase your name. They mocked your silence, mistook your absence for defeat, and assumed your stillness meant surrender. But let it be known today, you were hidden, not forgotten. You are God's secret, weapon crafted in quiet, refined in darkness, but destined for the light. While others sought platforms, you were placed in the shadows, not as punishment, but as protection. While they chased applause, you were being anointed in the secret place. While they were seen, you were being sealed. You were never like the rest. You've always known it. Even as a child, you felt the difference. There was something in you that didn't let you settle, didn't let you blend in. That something was the Spirit of the living God, marking you for a mission far beyond your understanding. It's why the enemy fought you early, why rejection clung to you, why betrayal became your unwelcome companion. Hell knew your name before you did. You were hidden for heaven's agenda. Let me tell you something crucial. Chosen one, being hidden was never a punishment. It was a strategy. The enemy cannot destroy what he cannot detect. God wrapped you in obscurity because the oil on your life was too fresh, too sacred, too pure to be polluted by premature applause. Had they seen your anointing too soon, they would have tried to claim it, tame it, or kill it. As we read in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 2, when you walk through fire, you will not be burned. That verse wasn't written for casual Christians. It was penned for the hidden ones, the ones who didn't break under the pressure, the ones who survived the fire and emerged without the smell of smoke. That's you. That's why you're still standing. The fire should have finished you. The betrayal should have broken you. But here you are, stronger, wiser, quieter but louder in the spirit than ever before. You didn't just survive, you were transformed. The furnace didn't consume you, it commissioned you. Every tear watered your roots. Every storm refined your strength. Every delay was a setup for a divine unveiling. The world doesn't know it yet, but the curtain is about to be pulled back. The tables are turning, the spotlight is shifting, and your name is echoing through heaven's courts. The time has come. The hidden ones are being revealed. Those who were last shall be first. Those who were overlooked shall be ordained. The ones laughed at in silence will be honored in the open. You are part of that remnant. You are part of the ones heaven has preserved. This is your call to rise. Rise from the ashes. Rise from the background. Rise into your calling. It won't look like the others. It won't follow their script. You weren't made to repeat history. You were born to redefine it. Your voice carries weight. Your presence shifts atmospheres. Your very existence is a threat to darkness. Do not question your worth another day. God is not revealing you to impress man, but to execute kingdom purpose. You are not being unveiled to entertain the crowd, but to overturn demonic strongholds. You are not being seen because of popularity, but because the assignment cannot be completed without your emergence. You are a piece of a divine puzzle. You are a solution in flesh. You are an answer wrapped in glory. Hear this in your spirit. You were never missing. You were just being molded. And now, the potter says, it is time. If you feel this word pulling something deep in your belly, don't ignore it. This is not just inspiration, it's a spiritual awakening. Heaven is shaking your slumber. You didn't come this far just to blend in. You didn't survive hell to go back to hiding. You are being summoned. You are being called. You are being revealed. Comment 777 if your spirit says, yes, Lord, I hear you. I know it's time. Share this message to awaken another hidden one. And if this word hit your spirit like fire, subscribe, so you never miss what heaven is saying again. Chosen one. The concealment was not random. It was not the result of bad luck, nor was it a punishment for anything you did. It was divine strategy. You weren't hidden because you were weak. You were hidden because you were too powerful to be released before the appointed time. Heaven saw your future, saw the oil that would flow from your life, and knew that premature exposure could destroy what God was still building inside you. You didn't realize it then, but those seasons of silence were sacred. The friendships that fell apart, the circles you were cut out of, the opportunities that bypassed you, they were all acts of mercy. Yes, mercy. Because had they embraced you too soon, they would have mishandled the gift you carry. Your anointing would have been trampled. Your heart would have been pierced beyond repair. So God stepped in, closed the doors, and covered you. You felt overlooked, but you were really being overshadowed by God Himself. In Psalm chapter 91, verse 1, we are reminded, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." That secret place, it's not just a metaphor. It's the womb of destiny. It's where God places His chosen ones, not to hide them forever, but to grow them without interference. That's where you've been. The hidden place, the sacred place, the place where public applause is traded for private refining. While others were posting, you were praying. While they were networking, you were kneeling. While they were being celebrated, you were being consecrated. And it felt lonely. It felt confusing. But in heaven's eyes, you were never out of position. You were right where you were supposed to be. Every delay was divine shielding. Every detour was sovereign navigation. Every lonely night was watched by the one who never sleeps nor slumbers. He saw every tear. He collected them. He counted every sigh. And while it felt like nothing was moving, everything was shifting behind the scenes. You see, when God hides someone, He hides them completely. He closes ears to your voice. He clouds eyes from seeing your value. Even those who were meant to help you couldn't. Not because they didn't care, but because heaven said, "Not yet." That's how precious your preparation was. Had you been revealed too early, the critics would have crushed you. The counterfeit would have corrupted you. The pressure would have poisoned you. But God, in His perfect wisdom, set you, acid or not, because you weren't ready to be seen, but because the world wasn't ready to see you. Heaven knows how dangerous an unprocessed chosen one can be. Powerful, but unstable, gifted, but unguarded. So He hid you not to hurt you, but to prepare you, to stabilize your identity, to forge your character in fire, to make sure that when the revealing came, your spirit could carry the weight of your assignment. Some of you were hidden in families that never saw you. Others were placed in jobs far beneath your calling. Some were surrounded by people who only took from you. but never poured into you. And still, you stayed faithful. Still, you served. Still, you worshipped. That faithfulness in obscurity has not gone unnoticed. In the heavenly realm, there is a shift taking place. The concealment is being lifted, but do not think for one moment that it was wasted time. No, the hiding was holy. The covering was sacred. You were kept by God Himself, shielded from sabotage, guarded from glory-hungry agendas, preserved in purity. So now when they see you rise, when they finally recognize your name, when they hear your voice and feel the weight of your presence, they will wonder where you came from. They'll ask, when did this happen? They won't understand it. But you will, because you've been carrying this fire in silence for years. They will see your fruit, but they won't know your roots. They will celebrate your crown, but they won't understand your cross. They will admire your strength, but they will never comprehend the crushing that birthed it. You are not the product of a platform. You are the product of the presence. You were formed in fire, molded by prayer, protected by heaven. And now the time is coming when concealment will shift into commissioning. But remember this always, the covering was never a curse. It was the evidence that you were marked. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time, heaven's time. Chosen one. Let's speak truth plainly. Every rejection you faced was a divine redirection. You thought they walked away from you? No. They were removed. You thought that job slipped through your fingers? No. It was blocked. That relationship you begged God to keep alive, it had to die so your purpose could live. You were never meant to be comfortable. You were meant to be called. And those moments that shattered you, that broke your heart, that left you questioning your value, those were the very tools God used to shift your trajectory. What felt like abandonment was actually alignment. You prayed for purpose, and heaven answered by clearing the path. You asked for clarity, and God gave you loss that refined your vision. You asked for promotion, and the Father removed everything that couldn't go with you. You wanted elevation, but God knew that elevation requires separation. You can't soar while being tethered to dead weight. And so He allowed the separation, not because you weren't good enough, but because what's on your life requires sacred space. You are carrying glory, and glory cannot dwell in polluted environments. Paul reminds us in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 6, God raised us up with Christ and seated us with Him in the heavenly realms. He raised you up, but notice, He seated you, not rushed you, not exposed you recklessly. He seated you in heavenly places because your calling required elevation in the spirit long before manifestation in the natural. So when they left you, it wasn't a loss, it was a lift. When the doors closed, it wasn't rejection, it was redirection. You were being moved out of what was comfortable into what was consecrated. Some people were never meant to recognize your value. Their ignorance was your insulation. If they had affirmed you too early, you would have grown dependent on their validation instead of God's voice. So the silence was surgical. The betrayal was strategic. The rejection was required. You are a kingdom disruptor. You were never designed to fit in systems built by man. That's why institutions tried to silence you. That's why cliques couldn't keep you. You were too anointed to be absorbed, too different to be duplicated. They called you too much. But heaven calls you essential. They said you were intense. But God says you carry weight. They said, "You didn't belong." But heaven says, "You were set apart." And now, those same voices that dismissed you will witness your rising, but don't rise with bitterness. Rise with clarity. Rise, knowing that their rejection was your resurrection. Every no was preparing you for the yes that matters. Every closed door was heaven's hand pulling you closer. Some of you lost family connections. Some lost mentors. Others lost opportunities that would have elevated them publicly, but emptied them spiritually. You mourned, but you didn't realize God was answering prayers. You didn't know how to pray. This is why you must stop grieving over what left. Stop romanticizing what God removed. You've outgrown their table because God is preparing your own. You were not born to survive off crumbs. You were made to feast in the presence of your enemies. David declared it in Psalm chapter 23. Verse 5, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." That's where you're heading. A public table. A divine reveal. A restoration that requires no revenge. When God prepares your table, you don't have to fight for your seat. You just show up in obedience. Chosen one. Hear this deep in your spirit. Their rejection was never about you. It was about where you're going. You were too called to stay in low places. Too prophetic to be caged in comfort. Too marked to be mixed with the mediocre. And while you cried over what you lost, God was already constructing what you're about to walk into. What's coming will make sense of what broke you. The glory on the other side of this pain will redeem every lonely night, every silent tear, every time you felt unseen. So dry your eyes. Lift your head. There's nothing back there for you. Let them talk. Let them wonder. You're not going back. You've been set apart for forward. The people that left couldn't stop what God has started. This is your crossover season. From lamentation to launching. From rejection to revelation. From weeping over what was to walking in what is. Declare it. I choose purpose. This is your agreement with heaven's realignment over your life. You didn't say a word, but the heavens heard your roar. Chosen one, even in your silence, you were shaking realms. What looked like stillness to others was spiritual warfare in motion. While they underestimated your quiet seasons, angels were standing guard around you. And God was etching your name into chapters yet to be revealed. You didn't need to prove yourself, because God was proving you. And in that quiet space away from the crowd, the applause, the validation, you were being trained. Heaven's army does not prepare its warriors in the spotlight. It trains them in the shadows. You were learning to hear God's voice when no one else affirmed it. You were learning to move when there was no cheer, no recognition. You were learning to fight spiritual battles in the dark, so you could stand in the light without faltering. Your silence was not passive. It was potent. You were carrying burdens for others in secret, interceding without needing credit, wrestling with generational spirits, not for yourself alone, but for the bloodlines that would follow after you. You were breaking curses that began before you were born. And still, you smiled. Still, you loved. Still, you served. That's power. Chosen one. That's kingdom strength. The type of strength that doesn't seek stages, but shakes them when it arrives. The type of weight that doesn't demand attention, but commands it by its very presence. That is the kind of power forged only in the secret place. Jesus himself showed us this mystery. He healed. delivered, and spoke with authority. But it was after 40 days of wilderness silence, after seasons of solitude. He didn't rush to the platform. He prepared in prayer, in quiet submission, in obscurity. In Luke chapter 5, verse 16, it says, "But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed." If Jesus, the Son of God, needed silence to be strengthened, how much more do we, you, chosen one, have been walking in that same path, pulled away, hidden, stripped of distractions, not because God forgot you, but because He was fortifying you. Your silence was dangerous to hell. That's why you faced attacks you didn't understand. The enemy feared what you were becoming in the quiet. You weren't shouting, but heaven was recording every breath of obedience. Every silent surrender was another weapon added to your arsenal. And while others were promoting themselves, you were being promoted in the Spirit. Promotions that can't be undone by human hands. No one saw the private yeses you whispered through tears, the nights you laid prostrate in prayer while others slept peacefully, the sacrifices you made while appearing to live a normal life. But heaven saw. God took note. You were never behind. You were being built, slowly, intentionally, eternally. Now, you walk with a different kind of authority, not loud, but loaded, not flashy, but fearsome in the Spirit. Your mere presence unsettles darkness because of what you carry. The devil doesn't fear noise, he fears consecration. He fears hidden ones who emerge, carrying fire from the secret place. There's a weight to you now, a depth, a wisdom born not from books, but from breaking. You speak, and chains tremble not because of volume, but because of the oil. You are proof that God does His greatest work in silence. People will ask, "Where did you come from?" And they won't understand. They'll say, "You changed," and you have, but not because of success. You changed in the silence. You learned to walk with God when no one clapped for you. You learned to endure when no one checked on you. And now, the silence is becoming your sound. The world is about to hear what heaven already knows. You are no longer voiceless. The time of revealing is near. But your roots run deep now. You can handle the weight, because you were forged in fire and silence. The enemy regrets not stopping you in the quiet, because now your voice carries thunder. Now your gaze carries discernment. Now your steps are guided by eternity. Speak it. I carry silent fire. You've been refined in shadows. Now you're ready for the light. The veil is lifting. The hidden ones are emerging. Heaven is peeling back the layers. And what was concealed is now being revealed. Chosen one, your time under wraps has come to an end. The silence was your season of preparation. But now the trumpet is sounding. God is announcing your arrival in the Spirit. This isn't about fame. It's about fulfillment. This isn't about attention. It's about assignment. God is not revealing you for applause. He's revealing you for impact, for kingdom collision, for divine disruption. What was once unseen will now be undeniable. Heaven has shifted. The alarm has gone out across realms. The scroll has been unsealed. And your name is on it. You are being summoned. You are being launched. You are being unveiled not by man's choosing, but by divine decree. Your voice matters in this hour. Your obedience matters. Your yes carries weight in this generation, and the unveiling will not be soft. You will be called into places you feel unqualified for, but don't shrink. You will be invited into rooms where you were once ignored, but don't apologize. You will be entrusted with assignments that intimidate the flesh, but your spirit has been waiting for this. This is the moment where prophecy becomes reality. The things you journaled in secret, the visions you were afraid to say aloud, the dreams that made no earthly sense, they were all real. You weren't delusional. You were discerning. You weren't crazy. You were called. Heaven has not forgotten. The tears, the intercession, the isolation, it all counted. It all built the foundation for the unveiling you are about to walk in. And let this be clear, the unveiling is not a reward. It's a release. You're not being blessed. You're being deployed. You are not coming forth to be seen. You are coming forth to be sent. It was declared in Luke chapter 10, verse 19, I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions. That authority wasn't given to the crowds. It was given to the called. You, chosen one, have been granted power not just to speak, but to shift, not just to exist, but to execute. You are stepping into rooms where spiritual climates will change simply because you walk in aligned. But understand this, visibility is vulnerability. To be revealed is to be targeted. With revelation comes resistance. The warfare will intensify. The critics will multiply, but none of it will prosper. Because this unveiling is backed by heaven's signature, you won't need to market yourself. God will whisper your name to the right ears. You won't need to fight for attention. Your fruit will speak louder than noise. You won't need to beg to be included. God is building something through you that others will have to come to see. People will start asking, where did this one come from? They'll question how you rose so quickly, but they didn't see the midnight wrestles. They didn't see the wilderness years. They didn't witness the years of faithful labor when no one clapped. Your rise may appear sudden, but your process was not. You've been building, layer by layer, in obedience. Every post you didn't make, every stage you didn't chase, every opportunity you surrendered, it was all part of the hidden training. You were growing roots so deep that now, as you rise, no storm can uproot you, no scandal can shake you, no lie can derail you, because what God establishes, no man can erase. God is about to bring you to the front lines, not for decoration, but for divine demonstration. You're not being revealed to impress, you're being revealed to make impact. You carry a kingdom assignment, and the hour is ripe. If this message speaks to the deepest part of you, let it settle in your spirit. You're not here by chance. The revealing is real. The hour is now, and everything you've endured was leading to this. The sound of heaven is calling your name, not the name they gave you, the name heaven wrote in the Lamb's book, the one spoken over you before you were formed in your mother's womb. That name is being called now. That destiny is being activated. That time is now. You are being revealed not to be celebrated, but to be commissioned. The hidden ones are rising. The sealed ones are stepping forward. The marked ones are taking their place. This is no longer prophecy. It's happening. Chosen one. Take a breath. Let this truth sink in deep. You are standing in the middle of prophetic timing. You are not early. You are not late. You are arriving at the intersection of promise and purpose, exactly when heaven scheduled it. The delay was not denial, it was divine design. There were moments you thought God had forgotten you. Moments when your prayers seemed to echo into silence. You wondered if your fasting was in vain, if your obedience went unnoticed. But in the unseen realm, something sacred was happening. Every tear, every cry, every yes whispered through brokenness was recorded in heaven's scroll. And now, the scroll has been opened. You're not stepping into random favor, you're walking into prepared fulfillment. There are blessings moving toward you that were held back for years, not because you weren't worthy, but because the timing wasn't ready. Now it is. The hour has struck. Destiny is calling. As Isaiah chapter 60, verse 22 declares, I am the Lord. In its time, I will do this swiftly. And swiftly. That is how heaven moves, when alignment meets readiness. The pace quickens. Doors you knocked on long ago begin to creak open without you touching them. People you thought forgot, you begin to remember your namino because of networking. But because of divine nudging, this is how heaven brings you forward. Suddenly, but not without reason. You have entered a realm where prayers you forgot, you prayed, are now finding you. The ones you whispered in exhaustion, the visions you scribbled in journals and tucked away. God never forgot. He was simply waiting for the earth, the circumstances, and your spirit to align. Prophetic timing requires spiritual maturity. This isn't about emotional highs. This is about steady obedience. Consiste sur un quiet resilience. And that's what you've cultivated. While others chased platforms, you chased His presence. While they built brands, you built altars. And now, the fire is falling not on popularity, but on preparation. This is why the warfare was so fierce before this moment. Hell knew what you were stepping into. That's why depression hit so hard. That's why isolation wrapped around you like a cloak. The enemy couldn't stop God's promise, but he hoped to stop your belief. He hoped to wear you down before the manifestation came. But you held on, even if it was by a thread. You held on, and that thread was stronger than you knew because it was woven with grace, faith, and the hand of God. Now the shift is happening. You feel it. The air is different. Conversations are changing. Dreams are becoming clearer. Confirmation is chasing you down. This is not emotionalism. This is spiritual alignment. Heaven's calendar has turned a page, and your name is written in bold. It's important now, more than ever, to stay grounded. Do not confuse movement with momentum. Just because things seem fast doesn't mean you skip the process. Keep your ears tuned to God's voice. Move when He says move. Pause when He says wait. The timing may be divine, but the journey still requires obedience. What's ahead of you was designed specifically for the version of you that survived the fire. This season won't be handled by the old you. It requires your refined self, your healed self, your disciplined self. That's why God didn't release it earlier. Had He given you this too soon, it would have crushed you. But now, you're ready. You don't need to beg for open doors. Doors are about to swing wide on their own. You don't need to explain your calling. Your fruit will speak volumes. You don't need to force visibility. Heaven's light is already shining in your direction. This is also a season of divine appointments, unexpected encounters, supernatural connections, conversations that seem random but were scripted by God. Pay attention. The people crossing your path now aren't accidents, they are keys, confirmations, and carriers of next steps. This kind of divine timing doesn't happen often. It's not a moment to be wasted. Be alert. Be humble. Be bold. God is trusting you with this season because you've proven trustworthy in the shadows. Don't downplay what's happening. Don't brush off the sense of urgency in your spirit. The reason everything feels like it's shifting is because it is. This is your kairos momentan, appointed time. A holy interruption in your story where the natural bends to the supernatural. You don't have to strive for it. Just align with it. This season will not be sustained by effort, it will be sustained by surrender. Let God lead. Let the Spirit navigate. Let the pace be set by heaven's rhythm. Everything is connected. Every part of your past is now serving your future. Every closed door prepared you for the right one. Every no shaped your ability to carry the yes. You're not just stepping into a new season, you're stepping into a new dimension, a realm of walking with God where things move differently. Time bends to purpose. Resources follow obedience. Peace increases in pressure. Feel it. Heaven is backing you. Timing has turned. Grace is multiplying. Comment 999. This number is a prophetic act agreeing that God's timing is unfolding now in your life. Chosen one. You must understand this. The warfare wasn't random. The pressure, the pain, the overwhelming resistance, it all had purpose. From the moment you took your first breath, you were marked, and hell knew it. Long before you became aware of your calling, darkness was already launching assignments to stop it. You weren't just attacked because of who you are, you were attacked because of who you were destined to become. Before you ever preached a word, your name was known in the spirit realm. Before you lifted your hands in worship, demons recognized your voice. And before you ever had a platform, you were already carrying power. That's why the battles you faced never matched the season you were in. Because the attacks weren't against your now, they were against your next. Hell always fights what it fears. And chosen one. Make no mistake, hell fears you. The enemy watched the way you survived, things that should have buried you. He saw you worship through the tears. He heard the prayers you whispered when no one else was around. He saw you stand when you had every reason to fall. That's why he's been relentless. That's why you felt targeted. Because in the realm of darkness, your obedience is an act of war. Spiritual warfare doesn't begin when you arrive at your destiny, yet begins the moment heaven identifies you. And you, chosen one, have been identified. Heaven has placed a seal on your life. An invisible mark that signals to angels and demons alike that you belong to the King. You've been moving through life with a spiritual target on your back, not because you're weak, but because you're chosen. That's why betrayal came early. Why rejection seemed constant. Why no matter how much good you did, you were still misunderstood. You've been under attack, not because of what you've done, but because of what you carry. Your presence disrupts darkness. Your voice shatters cycles. Your prayers cause tremors in demonic camps. But the most powerful thing about your journey, you didn't quit. Even when your heart broke, you didn't walk away. Even when the enemy whispered lies, you held on. Even when every sign pointed toward defeat, you chose faith. That kind of endurance can't be taught. It's proof that your roots are deeper than the storm. It's evidence that God has fortified you for more than survival. He's prepared you for dominion. And now, The tables are turning. The very pressure that tried to crush you has become the force that's elevating you. What the enemy used to silence you has only made your voice stronger. What was meant to destroy you has become your testimony. You're walking proof that God wastes nothing. The enemy didn't just fail to take you out, he accidentally helped shape your anointing. Every attack became an opportunity for greater glory. Every hardship increased your capacity. And now, you carry something no demon can duplicate. Oil born from crushing. In Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, Paul reminds us, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." This battle was never about people. It wasn't about your boss, your ex, your family, or your friends. It was spiritual. The enemy used faces, but the real war was being waged in unseen realms. That's why forgiveness is essential. You don't wrestle with flesh, you war in the spirit. And you've been winning, quietly, steadily. Every time you said yes to God, you advanced. Every time you resisted temptation, you claimed territory. Every time you stood in faith, you broke chains you didn't even know were there. What's happening now is the fruit of unseen victories. The public breakthrough you're stepping into is the result of private battles won on your knees. This is why no one can take credit for your rising, because only God knows what it cost you. You carry scars that testify. You've been through seasons that would have swallowed others whole, but grace carried you. Mercy preserved you. And now, the authority on your life is undeniable. You don't need a title to be powerful. You don't need a mic to be effective. You don't need validation to walk in victory. The hell you've walked through has qualified you in ways man never could. And here's the truth, few will say aloud. If the enemy couldn't stop you, then he certainly can't stop you now. You've already overcome the worst of it. What lies ahead may not be easy, but you're no longer the same person who started this journey. You are bolder. You are wiser. You are sharper in the spirit. Your discernment has been refined. Your armor is fitted. You are not the wounded version of yourself trying to survive. You are the awakened warrior ready to advance. So, when opposition arises again, and it wouldn't flinch, don't question whether you're off track. Attacks are not always signs of misdirection. Often, they're confirmations that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You are dangerous to darkness now, not because of what you know, but because of who you've become, and the enemy knows it. From the beginning, you were never ordinary. You've always felt an invisible weight resting on your shoulders, a pull towards something higher, deeper, eternal. While others moved with ease through the patterns of this world, you stumbled under the gravity of something you couldn't explain. It wasn't pressure from people. It wasn't anxiety. It was your spiritual DNA calling out for recognition. Chosen one. You were marked since birth. Before your parents saw your face, heaven had already spoken your name. Before you spoke your first word, purpose had already been assigned. You were born with instructions encoded in your spirit, heaven's fingerprint pressed into your soul. That's why you never fit in. That's why pretending didn't work. That's why rebellion felt hollow. Because you were never meant to blend. You were made to stand out. Set apart by divine appointment. There were moments when you tried to be like everyone else. You mimicked their patterns, adopted their language, played their roles. But even in imitation, You were different. There was always a lingering sense that you didn't belong, not because something was wrong with you, but because something was sacred within you. The isolation. It wasn't rejection. It was recognition from the Spirit that your design was not mass-produced. You were tailored for impact, created for a specific work, in a specific season, for a specific move of God. Jeremiah chapter 1. Verse 5 speaks this truth with piercing clarity. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. That's not poetic language. That's your origin story. God didn't stumble upon you after your birth. He authored you before your conception. You are not a reaction. You are a revelation. A solution embedded in human form. A living answer to a crisis hell didn't anticipate. And because you were marked early, the resistance also came early. The enemy doesn't wait for you to walk in your calling before launching attacks. He comes after you in infancy. Estudies your patterns. He attempts to abort destiny before it awakens. This is why you faced so much adversity in your youth. Why you endured things that others didn't. Why you were the target of trauma, shame, confusion, and spiritual fatigue. It wasn't random. It was calculated. The enemy tried to make you curse your difference before you could discover its power. But despite every setback, you survived. And not just survived, you remained sensitive, soft-hearted, open. That is a miracle all on its own. Many grow hard, bitter, numb. But you, chosen one, remained aware of God's presence. Even in the midst of storms, your tenderness is not weakness. It's spiritual intelligence. It means you're still reachable. And because of that, heaven is still pouring. The marking on your life isn't visible to most. It won't show up on a resume or a platform, but those who walk in the Spirit can feel it. They may not understand you, but they'll respect the weight you carry. They may not know your journey, but they'll sense the cost. That's the mark. It speaks louder than words. It manifests in the way you love people others discard, in the way you sense shifts before they're spoken, in the way you feel burdened to pray when no one else sees the need. You are heaven sensitive, earth assigned, and that combination is what makes you disruptive to darkness. You don't need to announce your calling. You don't need to defend your difference. You don't need to explain your burden. Just walk in it. Let the mark do the talking. Let the evidence reveal the oil. You were born with heaven's code embedded into your spirit. You are part of a divine plan, woven into the unfolding of eternity. Your presence in this generation is not accidental. It is essential. What others call coincidence, you now recognize as coordination. What you once saw as flaws, you now understand as features of your divine design. You were never random. You were always royal. Even the details of your life, the place you were born, the family you came from, the battles you fought are all part of your formation. God wastes nothing. He used it all to shape your lens, to forge your faith, and to protect your purity. Because the mark on your life is not just for your benefit, it's for those who will be freed through your obedience. There are people connected to your assignment who will only encounter Jesus through your voice, your story, your light. You don't carry this mark for applause. You carry it for mission. So don't shrink from it. Don't apologize for it. And don't try to erase it to make others comfortable. This is your confirmation. You were marked for this. chosen one. Pause for a moment and think about what you've endured. Not just the external struggles, but the internal wars. The silent battles no one ever saw. The breakdowns behind closed doors. The mornings you didn't want to get up, but did anyway. The nights when your pillow was soaked with tears and your prayers were more like groans. That pain, it wasn't meaningless. That weight, it wasn't accidental. Every ounce of it was prophetic proof that your calling carries serious weight. You've been misunderstood because you were never meant to be explained. You've been rejected because you don't fit in the systems built to contain the average. You've been tested repeatedly because heaven has placed more in your hands than most could carry. Your pain was never for pity, it was preparation. God has been using the very pressure that almost broke you to refine you. Like gold in the fire, you've been purged of dependency on people, position, or praise. You've come through betrayal with discernment. You've emerged from heartbreak with deeper compassion. You've walked through poverty with revelation that prosperity isn't money, it's wholeness. This is not romanticism. This is spiritual reality. You have been in a furnace, but you didn't burn. You didn't fold. You didn't curse God and walk away. You stayed. You submitted, and every second you remained in His hand. Heaven was multiplying the oil in your life. You didn't just survive, you were sanctified, transformed, recalibrated to heaven's frequency. And now, everything that once caused you to question your worth is about to confirm your anointing. It is in the crushing that the oil is released. It is in the pressing that the fragrance emerges. It is in the breaking that the blessing is revealed. In 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 17, Paul says, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." This is not to minimize what you've endured. Heaven knows the price. God never downplays the weight. But He does promise that what's coming carries more glory than what was lost. You will never cry a tear that doesn't produce something eternal. You will never groan in prayer without birthing something unseen. Your story is laced with pain, yes, but also with power. Because now, when you speak with authority. You don't talk from theory. You talk from testimony. You don't minister from hype. You minister from healing. There are dimensions of anointing that only come through suffering, levels of discernment that only pain can unlock, places in God that are only accessed through deep, private obedience. And you've been there. You've stood in rooms smiling while your heart was breaking. You've encouraged others while you felt empty. You've poured out when no one noticed. You've prayed for others' deliverance while silently needing your own. That's the mark of a servant. That's the nature of the called. You've done what many never saw, and heaven is now responding publicly to what you did privately. This season is not a reward, it's a response. God is honoring the hidden sacrifices, the obedience no one applauded, the integrity you maintained when compromise was easy. Some people think you're lucky. They don't know that your current strength was born from 1,000 moments where you chose faith over fear, trust over trauma, and worship over worry. What they see now is glory, but what you carry is scars. You are not powerful because you are loud. You are powerful because you are broken in the right places. This is why you cannot afford to discredit your pain. It's not your enemy, it's part of your emergence. Your scars are not a sign of failure. They are the signature of heaven on your life, saying, "This one has been processed. This one has been prepared. This one is ready." Emmy, There are others still hiding who need your voice, not your perfection, your scars, your transparency, your honesty. They need to know that surviving was not just possible, it was prophetic. You are living proof that pain doesn't get the final word. And that's why hell trembles when you rise. Because every step you take is a declaration. I survived. I obeyed. I'm still here. End. You're not rising in pride, you're rising in purpose. You're not emerging for applause, you're emerging for assignment. And the very pain that once made you question everything is now becoming the platform from which you release healing to others. This is your moment to stop hiding the parts of your story that hurt the most. Those are the very places where your power dwells. The enemy wants you to stay silent, but heaven is saying, speak. I'm not because you're whole, but because you're real. Not because you've arrived, but because you're walking the narrow road with your lamp still lit, and that light it's leading others out. Speak it loud. I survived this, because what didn't kill you crowned you in the spirit. They never saw you coming. While they were watching stages, scrolling past titles, and following personalities, heaven was building you in silence. And now, the ones who were overlooked are rising. The rejected are returning with fire. The outcasts are being repositioned by God's hand. You, chosen one, are part of a prophetic movement. The rise of the misfit prophets. You were never the polished type. You didn't have the credentials they respected. You didn't wear the right labels or speak the way they wanted. You were too loud for the religious, too radical for the traditional, too raw for the refined. But you were just right for God. You weren't raised in the palace, you were trained in the pasture. You didn't attend the school of men, you graduated from the wilderness of obedience. That's why when you speak, atmospheres shift. That's why when you pray, shackle break. That's why when you worship, fire falls. You don't perform for crowds. You burn for God. And that fire, the kind that only comes through isolation, surrender, and refining it, cannot be faked. It can't be mimicked. It is unmistakable. Heaven knows it. Hell fears it. You are not rising because of algorithms. You're rising because of alignment. Divine alignment. Prophetic release. Apostolic order. There's a sound being released in this hour that's not coming from the established, it's coming from the hidden, the raw, the unlikely, the misfits. The prophets God is raising now don't fit the mold. They're covered in scars. They speak in thunder. They don't just prophesy for applause. They release the kind of truth that disturbs systems, shakes institutions, awakens dead places, offends what needs to be exposed. Jeremiah was one. He wept and warned. Elijah was one. He called down fire and challenged false altars. John the Baptist lived in the wilderness, shouting repentance to a comfortable people. None of them wore crowns. None of them were accepted by the majority. But all of them were sent by God. You carry that same spirit, not just to proclaim good news, but to prepare the way, to confront darkness, to call things out, to lift the lowly and tear down pride, to be a voice crying out where others have gone silent. And it will cost you. You will be misunderstood. You will be misquoted. You will be dismissed, even hated. But it comes with the mantle. Don't resent, I rejoice in it. Because the more man rejects you, the more God covers you. And his covering will carry you where connections never could. In Amos chapter 7, verse 14, the prophet declared, I was neither a prophet nor the son of a prophet, but I was a shepherd, and I took care of sycamore fig trees, but the Lord took me, the Lord took him. That's what's happening to you. Heaven is taking the ones no one chose, the shepherds, the fig tree watchers, the ones outside the camp. God is placing fire in their mouths and oil on their hands. You don't need credentials to carry a commission. You don't need fame to walk in fire. You don't need a crowd to be effective, just God's breath. And you have it. You feel it. The shift has already begun. You're speaking differently, praying differently, seeing differently. It's because the prophet's mantle is resting on you, not to elevate you, but to break open what's been locked down, to restore what's been stolen, to tear down what's been falsely built. You are dangerous to darkness because you don't play by their rules. You don't compromise to be accepted. You don't water down the word to keep peace. You speak what God says, even when your voice shakes. And in this generation, God is amplifying that kind of sound, not the polished, pre-packaged version, but the unfiltered, unashamed sound of those who've been crushed and refined and still choose to speak. If this message stirs your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's been feeling too rough to be used, too scarred to be seen. Let them know God is not looking for perfection. He's looking for permission. Just one, yes, and He'll do the rest. And if these prophetic words have ministered to you, you can help us continue. Every share spreads the fire. Every subscription strengthens the signal. Every gift, no matter how small, is a seed into the soil of truth, not for applause, but for impact. For more voices to rise, for more misfits to be found, this is your confirmation. You were never too much. You were never disqualified. You are not unworthy. You are the answer to someone's cry. You are the messenger they've been waiting for. You are the one God saw when no one else did. You were never out of place. You were just ahead of your time. Chosen one. The days of obscurity are ending. You've been faithful in the unseen places. You've been consistent when no one noticed. You showed up when applause was absent. You gave when it cost you. You labored without praise, obeyed without recognition, and remained when walking away would have been easier. And now, the realm of authority is opening before you, not by merit, but by divine transfer. You are being lifted, not to boast, but to build, not for status, but for stewardship. You are being placed where your voice can break chains, not just echo through empty rooms. What once was inaccessible is now being handed to you not by men, but by heaven. There are moments in divine history where authority shifts hands, where mantles are passed, where leadership is realigned. You've entered such a moment, and the transfer is already happening not through titles, but through tested vessels. You don't need anyone's permission to rise. Heaven has already approved your assignment, and when God authorizes, no gate of hell can veto. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead is raising you not for show, but for dominion. In Luke chapter 12, verse 48, Jesus said, "To whom much is given, much will be required." None. This is the weight of spiritual authority. It's not about dominance. It's about responsibility. You're being entrusted with influence because you proved you wouldn't be seduced by it. You are being called forward, because your character can now carry what your gifts have been hinting at all along. Authority in the kingdom doesn't operate like the world. It's not about climbing higher, it's about bowing lower. You are rising in the spirit, but not to be served. You are rising to serve with deeper reach, sharper discernment, and greater consequence. This next level won't be about more visibility, it will be about more accountability. God is giving you access to strategies, insight, and spiritual keys. What you unlock will not just affect you, but generations. The choices you make now will ripple through realms. You'll walk into rooms where the tone shifts, not because you're impressive, but because the presence you carry is undeniable. You'll sense demonic activity before it's spoken. You'll discern motive behind smiles. You'll know who's assigned and who's attached. This is the realm of spiritual sight that comes not through schooling, but through submission. You are not guessing anymore, you're governing. You are not seeking approval, you're stewarding atmosphere. You are not reacting, you're commanding through alignment. This is why your silence was so long. God didn't just want to give you revelation, He needed to give you rulership. Rulership begins in the spirit, long before it manifests in the natural. He was teaching you how to command storms in private, so you could carry peace in public. There are realms that don't open until authority is proven, until your yes outweighs your comfort, until your hunger for goal surpasses your need for people. You've passed those tests quietly, painfully, faithfully, and now you're crossing into a place where your very being enforces change, not by charisma, but by consecration, not by influence, but by inheritance. This inheritance isn't money or title, it's divine permission to move differently, to speak and see breakthrough, to walk and see alignment, to pray and see sudden release. People may think you've arrived, but you'll know the truth. This isn't arrival. This is assignment. You're stepping into what's been waiting for you all along. God didn't create it when you showed up. He simply held it until you were ready. And now that you are, everything changes. Authority is not loud. It doesn't need to announce itself. It just is. It carries weight. It breaks cycles. It walks in rooms and silence falls. That's the kind of authority that's being entrusted to you. Not because of you, but because God trusts Himself in you. So, walk humbly, move wisely, and remember this: what you've been given now must be guarded with holiness. You are carrying oil that can't be wasted. You are carrying keys that unlock destinies. You are walking with weight that doesn't need to be explained, only obeyed. You've gone from obscurity to authority, not for applause, but for purpose. Chosen one. You've never fit the mold. That was never the intention. You were made to disrupt patterns, not follow them. You were born to unsettle darkness, not to coexist with it. While others sought comfort, you were marked for confrontation. You are heaven's secret weapon, quietly forged, divinely assigned, and now unmistakably activated. For so long, you questioned why your life felt like a series of battles. You saw others rise with ease while your path was lined with resistance. You prayed for peace, but instead found pressure. You asked for breakthrough, but faced breakdown after breakdown. What you didn't realize was that all of it, every storm, every delay, every heartbreak was part of a covert operation. Heaven was preparing a weapon, and that weapon was you. You were not just being saved. You were being sharpened. You didn't come through the fire just to survive. You came through the fire to carry it, to burn with a truth that silences lies, to walk with an authority that cannot be explained, to speak in a way that cuts through confusion. You were never just another voice. You were the voice for someone else's deliverance. You carry breakthrough in your presence, not because of what you've learned, but because of what you've lived. You are not an echo. You are a signal. And heaven is sending you now into spaces where tradition has failed, into conversations where compromise has taken root, into regions where spirits have been tolerated far too long. In Isaiah chapter 49, verse 2, the prophet writes, "He made my mouth like a sharpened sword. In the shadow of his hand, he hid me." He hid you not to silence you, but to sharpen you. Now, like a drawn sword, you are being revealed, not randomly, not recklessly, but surgically, specifically, strategically. You are not being sent to everyone. You are being sent to the ones who can hear the frequency of freedom you carry, the ones trapped in cycles, the ones blinded by comfort, the ones drowning in religion but starving for God. You are their answer, not because of your name, but because of His name on you. Do not underestimate the impact of your voice. You may not have a pulpit, but your presence shifts environments. You may not wear a robe, but your prayers release fire. You may not have a following, but when you speak, heaven moves and hell shakes. This is the season of the secret weapons, those who were dismissed because they didn't play the part, those who were labeled too intense, too emotional, too different. But God has been watching, and now the remnant is rising. The hidden ones are being revealed. The quiet ones are becoming thunder. There are doors opening now, not because you knocked, but because heaven spoke. Access is being granted not through man's approval, but through divine assignment. You are stepping into territory that was always yours only now. You're ready to occupy it. But do not be surprised if resistance increases. Secret weapons are always targeted by hell, because what you carry is disruptive. It dismantles, it awakens, it challenges, and it refuses to bow to culture, compromise, or comfort. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to cut through, so keep your edge sharp. Stay submitted. Stay hidden in the spirit. Even as you're revealed in the natural, what you've been given is not just a voice, it's a verdict against darkness, against delay, against deception. And this is not just about you. Others will find freedom through your obedience. Lives will be altered by your faithfulness. Chains will fall because you chose to show up, fully yielded, fully burning. Lift your head. You are no longer in waiting. You are in motion, and heaven is backing every step. Type 77. This number marks your agreement. I am God's secret weapon, and I have been released. Chosen one. This is not chaos, it's a calculated move. What seems spontaneous to you is part of a carefully crafted ambush from heaven. You're revealing. You're rising. Your release known of it is accidental. It's been orchestrated with precision. And now, God is initiating a spiritual ambush. Not against you, but through you. The enemy didn't see this coming. He planned your ruin early. He set traps in your youth. He tried to plant lies in your identity before you could even spell your name. He used voices that were supposed to protect you to silence you. But what he didn't realize was that every time you were torn down, heaven was building a weapon. Every time you were overlooked, something eternal was added to your voice. Every betrayal pushed you deeper into God. Every delay gave you time to sharpen your discernment. Every disappointment became training for territory, and now you've been deployed. Heaven's timing isn't late. It's sudden, the same way storms roll in without warning. So does divine intervention. One moment you're hidden, the next you're heralded not by crowds, but by clarity. The kind of clarity that makes demons nervous. The kind that unlocks captives. The kind that displaces false authority. This is a takeover. The plans you made for your life are being overridden by prophetic instruction. You thought you were going one direction, but God rerouted you. You thought the loss was a mistake, but it was a release. You assumed the door was closed because of rejection, but it was actually God's redirection. He was pulling you out of the enemy's line of sight. Now, your steps are no longer random, they are weaponized. You are walking into spaces with answers that heaven has been storing in you for years. People will start asking for your voice, not because you're loud, but because your voice is tuned to a frequency that breaks spiritual static. This is divine ambush. God is inserting you into places that look natural, but hold supernatural assignments. Conversations that seem casual, but trigger breakthroughs. Encounters that feel coincidental, but are encoded with deliverance. You are not being sent to impress. You are being sent to interrupt. To interrupt cycles. To interrupt generational curses. To interrupt systems that have locked people in shame and religion. You are not here to blend in. You are here to break through, and it won't always make sense. There will be moments when God will tell you to speak what others fear, to whisper. Times when your presence alone will agitate what's dormant in others, not because you're offensive, but because your light exposes shadows. You won't always be liked, but you will always be anointed, because God didn't call you to be liked. He called you to be lethal. In Judges chapter 6, verse 12, the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon and said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Oh, this wasn't said to a man in armor. Gideon was hiding, afraid, uncertain. But God saw the warrior inside him long before he saw it in himself. That's what's happening to you. God has always seen the warrior, the strategist, the deliverer, and now He's pulling you out of hiding and into battle. This isn't a physical war, it's a spiritual clash. Heaven versus hell, light versus darkness, truth versus deception. And God is ambushing enemy territory with you. As His vessel, you don't carry just words, you carry weight. Every step you take into obedience releases pressure in the spirit. The enemy thought he had time. He thought you were stuck. He thought the warfare had silenced you. But what he didn't realize was that you were only getting sharper. You were not buried. You were planted. And now you're sprouting at a speed hell can't keep up with. There's urgency in the spirit. Not fear, not panits. Urgency. A divine push to move now. To speak now. To obey now. Because what you carry is part of a coordinated strike. You're not the only one rising. Others like you are also being positioned. God is assembling His army in silence and releasing them in waves. No stage, no spotlight, just kingdom power. And it will not look like church as usual. It will not follow the rules men have built around the Spirit. It will offend what's comfortable. It will challenge what's carnal. It will lift up the humble and confound the proud. You are not just part of a season, you are part of a movement. That's why you had to be broken first. Not to crush you, but to ensure you would never make the mission about yourself. You've tasted what it's like to walk alone. You've known the sting of misunderstanding. You've survived the silence of God and still worshipped. Now, He's trusting you with fire. This fire is not for entertainment. It's not for applause. It's not to prove a point. It's to consume what's been lying dormant, to awaken the dead things, to draw people back to truth. So don't minimize what you carry. Don't shrink for comfort. Don't assume that because others don't see it, it isn't real. You are the ambush. You are the surprise move. You are the sudden shift in someone else's story. And you didn't miss your moment. You are the moment. Chosen one. Now is not the time to shrink back. Do not let the weight of the calling tempt you to retreat. Do not allow the opinions of people to mute what God has already amplified in you. This moment is too critical. This hour is too costly. You were hidden for such a time as this, not to vanish again, but to rise. You've been entrusted with something sacred. It's not just a gift, it's a fire, a presence, a burden that refuses to be buried. And now that the covering has been lifted, you cannot go back to shadows that no longer fit you. You can't return to silence that once served you. The wilderness was a season, but now you are in movement. You are in release. Going back to hiding isn't humility, it's disobedience. This is not the season to dim your light. This is the hour to shine with precision and intention, not for applause, but for alignment, not for fame, but for fulfillment. Your light was never meant to blind others. It was meant to break through darkness, to guide, to expose, to heal. The tension you feel is real. You know what you carry, but you also remember the cost. You know what it means to be misunderstood, to be isolated, to be ridiculed for speaking truth in a culture addicted to comfort. And that memory makes the light feel dangerous. But here's the reality. Your light is dangerous to darkness. That's why you feel resistance every time you move. That's why old insecurities try to speak up the moment you take a step forward. That's why hell attempts to resurrect doubt right before your breakthrough. It's not because you're weak. It's because your obedience is shaking realms. Jesus himself spoke this in Matthew chapter 5. Verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." End of. You were never meant to blend. Your visibility is part of your function. Your presence alone disturbs cycles. Your walk, your words, your worship, all of it carries voltage in the spirit. You don't have to say much. You just have to show up full. But full of what? Full of the word, full of the spirit, full of truth, boldness, and conviction. Full of the oil that comes from pressing. That's what people feel when they encounter you. That's what makes people either lean in or pull away. Because light demands a response. And you, chosen one, are no longer allowed to apologize for shining. You've spent years reducing yourself to be accepted. You've dulled your discernment so you wouldn't offend. You've watered down your voice so others wouldn't feel exposed. But no more. That version of you served a season. This version of you carries weight, and with that weight comes clarity. Not everyone will go with you. Some will drift. Others will criticize. Some will call your confidence pride. Others will accuse your obedience of ambition. But you can't stop now. You can't dim yourself just because others are still adjusting their eyes to your light. You were not made for corners. You were made for altars. You were crafted to stand, to declare, to intercede, to warn it for recognition, but for souls. Do not let fear of failure mute what heaven has already declared finished. Do not let your need for acceptance strip you of your assignment. You were not lit to hide. You were lit to burn. And yes, there will be moments where the spotlight feels uncomfortable, when responsibility feels heavy, when you long for the simplicity of hiddenness. But even then, you must remember obedience is not about comfort. It's about covenant. The same God who called you will carry you. You will not burn out if you burn from the right source. You will not be consumed if you stay connected to the flame of the Spirit. This light is not man-made. It's divine, and it cannot be quenched by culture, criticism, or confusion. So walk boldly now. Let your words be seasoned with fire. Let your steps be rooted in righteousness. Let your life be the sermon others can't ignore. Not because you're loud, but because you're real. Not because you're perfect, but because you're present lit, alive, and aligned. This is the time to release what's inside you. The world is not waiting for another influencer. It's waiting for the ones who carry heaven, the ones who won't compromise, the ones who refuse to go dark just to make others comfortable. So no, don't dim now. Don't shrink. Don't hesitate. This is the season to shine without apology, without fear, without permission. You've been lit by the hand of God, and no one can put you out. Chosen one. Look around you. The landscape is shifting. The winds are changing. The atmosphere is different. You're not imagining it. Something holy is gathering in the Spirit. A remnant is rising. Scattered ones are finding each other. Hidden ones are hearing a sound. Heaven is assembling its army. You are not alone. You've carried this weight for so long in isolation. You've questioned your sanity. You've wondered if anyone else feels what you feel, sees what you see, carries what you carry. The answer is yes. There are others, marked ones, set apart, ones who have been walking in parallel silence. God is now drawing you together. What you're feeling is the sound of the remnant being summoned, the lonely prophets, the underground intercessors, the rejected reformers, the wilderness survivors, the altar builders, the nameless, faceless, fire-baptized believers who aren't interested in popularity. They crave presence. They are gathering, not around personalities, but around purity, not around platforms, but around power. In Joel chapter 2, verse 7, the word says, they charge like warriors, they scale walls like soldiers. They all march in line, not swerving from their course. Nay, that's the remnant. Disciplined, focused, unified not by doctrine alone, but by spirit. You are part of that divine deployment. You don't need a title. You don't need a stage. You only need to say yes. The call has gone out not through media, but through the marrow of your bones, not through popularity, but through prophetic ache. You've felt it at midnight. You've felt it in crowded rooms. You've felt it in quiet prayer. And now, it's time to answer. You are not just being called out, you are being called together. God is assembling the ones who have been trained in obscurity, the ones who lost everything and still remained faithful, the ones who were passed over but preserved, those who carry prayer in their lungs, strategy in their hands, and fire in their eyes. That's the army forming. That's the company you belong to. You are not being elevated to be seen. You are being positioned for impact. Your rising is not for personal advancement, it's for kingdom confrontation. You're being joined with others because the mission requires unity, not sameness unity. Many voices, one sound. Many gifts, one spirit. Many assignments, one kingdom. This is the fulfillment of what God has spoken for generations. A people unafraid, a generation uncompromised, a church without mixture, a bride without blemish. You are part of the fulfillment. Don't be surprised if God begins to draw people to you, strangers with familiar fire. Don't be alarmed when your circle begins to shift again. Heaven is aligning you with kingdom allies, not for comfort, but for purpose, not to entertain, but to equip. Some of them you'll meet online, some in places you least expect. But when you speak, their spirit will leap. It will feel like recognition, like reunion. That's how the remnant finds each other, not through promotion, but through prophetic resonance. This is why your voice matters now. Not because it's loud, but because it's authentic. You don't have to sound like anyone else. You don't have to preach, sing, teach, or move like others. Just be who God called you to be. Speak what He gives you. Release what you carry. And yes, the opposition may increase. The enemy always resists when warriors assemble. But this time, you are not walking alone. This time, your sound is part of a surge. This time, your yes is echoed by thousands of unseen saints marching with the same fire. What you're part of now is bigger than you. It's bigger than this moment. You're stepping into movement, momentum, awakening, revival. Not the kind that needs flashing lights, but the kind that starts in secret rooms and spills out into cities. The kind that cannot be stopped once ignited. And if this message has confirmed what you already feel rising in your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Like and share it now, so other hidden ones can hear the same trumpet call. There's someone on your timeline who's been waiting for this very confirmation. Be the sound that reaches them. If you haven't yet subscribed, do it now. Stay connected to what God is releasing in this space. The flow won't stop, it's only growing. And if you feel led, consider giving. Not because you must, but because sowing into what strengthens your spirit is kingdom principle. Every offering helps this voice go further, reach deeper, and continue awakening others just like you. Most of all, speak this aloud. Write it in the comments. We are rising now. This is your agreement with heaven's army. You're not alone anymore. Chosen one. You have not come this far to carry empty words. You have not survived the fire just to remain silent. The mantle that rests on your shoulders now is not light, it is weighty with glory, heavy with responsibility, rich with heaven's intention. And within that mantle lies revival. You carry revival, not revival as a word thrown around in desperation or tradition, but revival as heaven defines it: awakening, reformation, and resurrection of what has been forgotten, neglected, or spiritually dead. That fire stirring within your spirit is not a passing feeling. It is a signal, a divine alert that what you carry must now be released. Revival isn't something that will visit you. It's something that will flow from you. It's in your breath when you pray. It's in your steps when you walk into a room. It's in your eyes when you see broken people others walk past. You don't need a stage to spark revival, you only need surrender. And that is what sets you apart. Revival doesn't begin in crowd sit, begins in consecrated vessels, in hearts willing to say, whatever it takes, Lord, in voices that tremble under the weight of truth, but still speak, in hands that tremble with compassion, yet heal, in spirits so aligned with heaven that even their presence convicts. You are not rising just to be known. You are rising to ignite, to spread, to shake, to declare. You're not called to maintain comfort. You're commissioned to birth awakening. And God has chosen you because He can trust you to carry it without contaminating it. In Acts chapter 2, verse 3, it is written, they saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated and came to rest on each of them. That fire didn't fall on a platform, it fell on people. People who had waited, people who had yielded, people who were ready. That's you. The flame didn't come to entertain, it came to empower. It didn't come to be admired, it came to be multiplied. And that multiplication is happening now. What you've survived has qualified you to carry this level of power. What you've endured has cleansed you for this moment. You are no longer bound by the limitations that once kept you small, no longer held by the opinions that once muted your voice, no longer tethered to the fear of man. You've been broken enough to be trusted with fire. And this fire will not be neat. It will not be convenient. It will not always be welcomed. Revival doesn't knock politely, it breaks down what needs to fall. It disrupts what has grown stale. It restores what was once alive but has grown cold. And you carry that kind of disruptive glory. But hear this clearly. Revival is not just an event. It's a lifestyle. It's in your morning prayers, your whispered intercessions, your willingness to love when it costs, your refusal to water down truth. Revival is being birthed in how you live, not just how you lead. Every time you speak what God gives you, revival breathes. Every time you extend forgiveness when it hurts, revival breaks chains. Every time you worship in warfare, revival echoes through realms. Every time you walk in obedience, revival moves through your feet. This mantle is not for the faint of heart. It requires death to self, surrender to God's timing, sensitivity to His Spirit. You don't get to carry fire and still cling to what's familiar. You don't get to move with the crowd and carry the cloud. There will be seasons where you feel stretched beyond reason, where the burden feels too heavy, where the silence of others feels deafening. But even in those places, revival lives. Even when you're weary, the oil is still flowing. Even when you're misunderstood, heaven still recognizes your assignment. God didn't call you because you're perfect. He called you because you're willing. He called you because you've proven that you'll speak when no one claps, and pray when no one watches. You'll fast when it's inconvenient. You'll stand when everyone else sits. That kind of obedience creates space for revival to dwell. That kind of posture invites the presence that transforms cities. You won't always see the immediate fruit, but trust this: every seed of obedience grows. Every yes builds a legacy. Every hidden prayer shifts atmospheres. Revival isn't always loud. It often starts in whispers, in hidden places, in unnoticed faithfulness. But it will grow. And when it does, it will move like fire through dry places. It will touch the ones who gave up on hope. It will breathe again into pulpits that once held power. It will resurrect the joy of salvation in people who lost their way, and it will spread through the lives of the willing, the yielded, the ones like you. You are not carrying revival by accident. You were chosen to be a living spark. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to be available. You don't need to have it all together. You just need to trust the one who holds it all. So, guard the flame. Protect the oil. Don't let culture define your fire. Don't let disappointment steal your expectancy. Don't let pride dull your edge. Stay low. Stay yielded. Stay burning. You carry a revival mantle. Walk like it. Pray like it. Speak like it. Live like it. Chosen one. It is time to step fully into the light, not as someone trying to prove worth, but as one who has already been proven in fire. You've walked through the shadows of rejection, carried the silence of isolation, and endured the wilderness that strips away everything but what is divine. And now, the season of hiding is over. This is the hour of open crowning. They will see what they never expected. They will witness the hand of God exalting the one they once disregarded. The same rooms that overlooked you will now be required to make room for you. The same mouths that dismissed you will now be silenced, not by your retaliation, but by your elevation. This is not about pride. This is about prophecy. You were never forgotten. Heaven did not misplace you. God was not slow to move. He was precise, intentional, strategic. He was arranging a moment where every eye would see that the crown you carry wasn't given by man, it was given by heaven. And the crown won't just be symbolic. It's authority, it's identity, it's divine confirmation. It is a visible sign of an invisible marking. You have been found faithful. You have endured with integrity. You have passed the test when no one was watching. Now, the anointing is being made visible. In Revelation chapter 3, verse 11, it is written, "I'm coming soon. Hold on to what you have, so that no one will take your crown." This is a charge, a call to remain steadfast, to walk with humility even in exaltation, because the crown is not a decoration, it is a weapon. It is your sign of dominion. It means you have been authorized to influence, to decree, to release heaven into the earth in ways few can understand. And this crowning will be public, not because you need the attention, but because God wants to settle every voice that questioned your purpose. He is making it known that what He placed on your life was never dependent on approval, that the process was real, that the oil was costly, that your surrender has birthed something eternal. You'll walk into spaces with a new weight, not heavy, but holy. You'll be greeted with honor, but remember, the crown isn't for applause. It's for assignment. You're being lifted to reach further, to speak louder in the Spirit, to shift atmospheres where others were afraid to step. But this new place requires the same heart you had in the shadows, the same humility, the same hunger, the same posture of dependency, because though the crown rests on your head, your heart must remain bowed. And those who try to define you by your past, they will have to watch the glory fall. Not because God wants to shame them, but because He wants to vindicate the seasons you walked through in silence. There's a holy justice in what's coming, a divine reversal. This is the fulfillment of every promise spoken in the secret place, every journal entry written in tears, every moment you clung to hope when doubt was louder. Heaven is responding with manifestation, with a moment where you don't just feel chosen, you are seen as chosen. But do not get distracted. Do not begin to crave the crown more than the king. Remember, the crown came because of the cross. Your resurrection came through surrender. Keep your eyes on the one who called you. Stay tethered to his voice. Stay low before his throne. The higher you rise, the deeper your roots must go. There will be more assignments now, greater weight, broader reach, and with it, a call for greater wisdom. You'll need discernment to know when to speak and when to stay silent, when to step forward and when to stand still. Your movements must remain spirit-led. This isn't the end of the journey. It's a new beginning, a chapter written in glory. You will no longer be known for what you lost, but for what you carry. The crown is a sign you are trusted, proven, empowered. You are not just anointed, you are appointed, and heaven is backing every step. Let them see, let them wonder, let them ask. But never forget, you didn't chase the crown. It found you, and now you wear it with reverence. You are crowned in the open, chosen one. Take this moment in. You've journeyed through pain, silence, rejection, fire, and finally revelation. Every word, every section, every prophetic truth has been heaven's confirmation to your spirit. You were never forgotten, never disqualified, never average. You were hidden because you were holy, and now you are being revealed because you are ready. This is not the end of your transformation, it's the beginning of your manifestation. From this moment forward, you are walking in crowned identity, in fire-tested authority, and in unshakable alignment with heaven's design for your life. Do not go back. Do not dim down. Do not apologize. Let the light in you shine without restraint. Let the glory resting on you speak without words. Let the fire that formed you burn without fear. If this word stirred something deep inside, you share it. Someone connected to your life needs to hear it. Don't let the flame stop with you. Be the sound that ignites another hidden one. And if your spirit bears witness, let it be known. Comment below with, I rise now. Let the earth and hell hear it. You are not going back to hiding. Subscribe if you haven't. Stay in the flow. Let this space continue to feed the fire in you. And if you feel led to give, let your seed be an act of agreement. Every donation, no matter how small, helps this prophetic sound reach farther, deeper, louder. You are not alone. You are not late. You are chosen. You are seen. You are rising. Welcome to your unveiling.